Hey y'all, it's your girl Charity B, and welcome to the I'm Enough Mastering Self-Love podcast. This podcast was designed for both men and women who are in the process or wanting to start their self-love journey. Here we discuss many topics related to self-love that promotes healthy habits that will help support your mental and emotional health, boost self-confidence, and self-worth. So get ready. This is something you don't want to miss. If you like what you hear in this episode, feel free to DM me and leave comments on my Instagram page at im.enoughmsl. The podcast is also available on YouTube. The link will be in my description box as well as on my Instagram page. Not all deaths require a funeral. Some live quietly in unmet needs and imagine futures. Today we're talking about a grief no one prepares you for, which is grieving the life you never got to live. If you've ever felt sadness for something you couldn't explain, stay with me, because this episode is about learning how to mourn without getting stuck. Hey y'all, it's your girl Charity B, and welcome back to the I'm Enough Mastering Self-Love podcast. If you are new here, welcome. I am glad that you chose to tune in and take a step forward into loving yourself on a deeper level. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. My hope for each of you is that today's episode gives you something meaningful to carry forward, whether it's a reminder to embrace your journey, tools to help you evolve into the best version of yourself, or insight you can apply in your everyday life. Whatever it is that you need, I hope you find it here. Before we go any deeper into this episode, I just want to invite you to pause with me for a minute. This is going to probably be a touchy subject for many, and you're probably coming into this a little already overwhelmed or feeling under pressure just by things that are going on outside of this. So I want you to prepare your minds for this episode, and we're just going to take a breath. I want you to go into this not thinking that you have to have a solution after this episode, or that your mind continues to run, or that you continue to find fault in yourself or your previous actions or current actions. So I want you to just go into this thinking no fixing, no rushing, no explaining. This conversation isn't about blame or regret. It's just allowing yourself to acknowledge what was missing and honoring the grief that comes with that. So whatever guilt or shame you may feel, release it now. Take a pause or pause the episode here while you gather yourself before you move on. And then let's get back to it. So this is episode 3, Grieving What You Never Got. We're talking about mourning unmet needs, lost time, and imagined futures. So what does it mean to grieve what you never got? It could be a plethora of things, but some, just to give you some insight, it could possibly be love you felt you deserved but never got, time lost trying to survive this thing we call life, or the life that we were given, futures you imagined but had to release. You're expected to be married, or you have recently ended a long-term relationship, relationship with your significant other, family member, people you hold dear to you that are no longer here anymore on this earth physically. Also could be unmet emotional needs, feeling safety or validation or love that you never got, that you feel as though you needed. Or even just looking back on your childhood, you didn't receive the childhood you think you deserved, not receiving the parent you thought you deserved. You never got the love you needed from a parent, and you feel as though maybe you still don't get that love, and that's something you may have needed once upon a time. So those are just some options or some different ways you can grieve what you never got. This grief is just as valid as losing someone special or burying someone that you hold dear to you. It doesn't have to be a physical loss to be considered a loss. It's an emotional loss that's just as big as any. It's not only about what was taken from you. Sometimes it's about what you just never got. So it doesn't have to necessarily be something that was taken from you. Your body does still remember that absence of that emotional stability that you didn't get, or that love you didn't get. It's not the fact that you're grieving something you lost. You're grieving the lack of something that just should be there. Like, a puzzle piece is missing to complete this puzzle. And it often doesn't disappear because, hey, in order to complete this 200 piece puzzle, I have to find that one missing piece or it will never be finished. So it doesn't just disappear with time. Unless you get that thing that you were lacking emotionally, But as humans, of course, we are wired to create connections, and we need to feel cared for and that safety. So if we never get it, the puzzle is never completed. And of course, that does show up over time within our lives or in our actions or habits. So that's the next thing we're going to talk about. How does this grief show up in your adulthood if you never find that puzzle piece that was missing to complete your puzzle? Well, it could be shown as far as like difficulty receiving, never asking for help, or you have abandonment issues, or you feel as though you're often neglected. You probably have feelings of being constantly stagnant in life. You probably randomly get sad out of nowhere. You're probably also an over-functioning person, never stopping to rest, or you feel as though resting is a problem, or like if are you trying to relax, you just feel like something is wrong if you didn't do nothing that whole day. You're probably also a people pleaser, grieving milestones you never had. Probably you suffer with perfectionism, overcompensating for feelings of either worthlessness or creating a false sense of control. You feel like if you just do everything so perfect and on a T, that you're in control. You could also be subconsciously sabotaging things that are good for you, crashing out, just messing up healthy relationships or opportunities because you feel as though you don't deserve it. Seeing it every day, witnessed it before. So that's a thing. Isolating yourself or try to avoid people or situations that triggers those memories or those feelings of what you're grieving emotionally. So as I list here, it's a lot of ways that it can show up in your adulthood. We can pick up things because we lack some things emotionally or even physically, that we felt we should have gotten or that we are missing that doesn't complete our puzzle. Like something is missing. And, it's just like a trauma response, honestly, a defense mechanism. You try to do what you can to survive and to what quote unquote thrive, but in reality it's not something that helps us be successful long term. It just helps us get through that difficult moment or memory, but in the end it always comes back around. It's things in life, you can try to avoid them as much as you want, but one day you're going to be faced with a situation where you have to face that same situation, probably in a different type of tone or atmosphere, but it's going to come back where you're going to have to deal with it. Okay. Now, most times this kind of grief comes from realizing how much time you spent trying to survive rather than thrive. It's warranted. These are things that you missed out on, maybe because you had to put that energy somewhere else in your life that required you to put it there in order for you to get further. Same as those ways that I mentioned that it shows up in your adulthood. You had to create those defense mechanisms in order for you to get through that time and moment of your life. You know, it could be years where your energy went into making sure you stayed above waters, or you remain strong and aware and resilient so that you can get past that point in your life. You may didn't get to be carefree or move with ease. You may didn't get to experience life as you would hoped. You probably have some dreams that were delayed or abandoned because life demanded something else from you at the time. In another area of your life, it could be simply from, just not having good parents and you had to take care of your siblings to make sure y'all got through it. It could be from experiencing a death early on from either of your parents or both parents. It could be a lot of things. Even when you get a little bit older, it doesn't have to necessarily be from your childhood. It could be things that you just experienced through life. Like, we go through life every day and pick up battle scars left and right. And each time, different battle, you have to move a different way, and then you pick up a different defense mechanism. But a lot of times, stuff be going on where you don't even have the chance or time to react in a way that would be healthier for you, for your body, or for your trauma response, so that you wouldn't have to pick up these battle scars. Sometimes we do the best that we can with what we got. That's literally what it is. And it's okay to come out of that and then look back and be like, this was a show. This was a mess. This was a mess show. The other word I'm thinking of, but this was a mess. This was not what I imagined for myself. And it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to look back on that and be like, well, dang, that definitely, I feel bad or I feel sad for that version of myself having to go through that, So it's okay to think that. Your mind and your body remembers the exhaustion. Your heart remembers the longing, because lost time isn't imaginary. It's felt in many areas. But that does not mean that you're stuck in the past because you're grieving it. It just means you're finally realizing the cost of your survival. The hardest part of this type of grief is thinking about the what ifs. What if things had been different? What if you had more support? What if you hadn't had to grow up so fast? What if you had been protected, chosen, encouraged? These questions don't mean that you're leaving in regret. It just means you're processing your reality. And it's okay to picture those what ifs, what life could have looked like for us, how far we could have been, whether that's in your love life, finances, career. You can imagine those milestones we could have reached or who we thought we could be. It's okay to do that. Gratitude and grief can coexist together. It's possible. You can appreciate where you are and still mourn what never came. Maybe this part of your life, this part of your healing journey isn't about replacing the past or trying to force something new or force a new dream right away. Maybe it's just you saying, I see what I lost, I honor what I hoped for, and I give myself permission to feel that fully. Sometimes the future doesn't really just show up or allow you to be able to move into your future until you have properly grieved and finally acknowledged what was. I always talk about this in the same analogy. A new flower cannot grow over dead things. It cannot. In order for this flower to blossom, you have to replant this new soil, in order for it to grow and flourish and become the best flower it's supposed to look like. That's the same thing. You have to be able to acknowledge it, let it go, and move forward. And also not become stuck in your gratitude and grief process. If we continue to say woulda, shoulda, coulda, what ifs and what's that, and I'm still harping on the fact that the what ifs scenario, I'm going to stay there and I'm going to continue to blame X, Y, Z. It's going to be so much easier to let that shame or that blame overconsume you because you're staying in it. We must not stay in it. It's okay to acknowledge it. It's okay to show the gratitude. You brought me here. You're the reason why I am the person I am today. That version of me, I needed that person at that time, but I cannot let it make me stay there. Okay. Or go back to that version of myself. We're meant to acknowledge it, grieve through it, and move on. And that's what we're going to talk about moving forward. How do you properly take the steps to grieve through it and get through it so you can get to your next step? So what we're going to do is take some time and we're just going to reflect together, because I'm going to take you through this step by step. So the first thing that I would say is to recognize what those needs are. What are those things that you needed that you did not get? And this is not just something ranging from your adulthood, your teenage years. I'm going all the way back to your childhood. What has caused whatever defense mechanism you have going on today, or that you feel is holding you back? How did we get here? Let's go take it all the way back. So just think about a time or times where you felt emotionally unsafe. Time where you feel like your feelings were not taken serious. Does this happen often? Or is it specifically with that in that scenario with that person? Did you feel as though you did not or may have received the comfort you needed during that time? Were you allowed to make mistakes without fear or feeling fearful? Did you feel protected, noticed, chosen? Were there moments where you needed reassurance, but instead you got silence? Think about those real vulnerable parts where you felt as though you were literally laying it out all on the line, and you did not get the reaction or validation you needed. Once you have done that, you now need to make the connection. For example, because you didn't get reassurance, you seek validation or struggle to ask for it. Or because you were not protected, you make it your main duty to protect yourself. So you may be hyper independent. Oh, I can do it myself, and don't really ask for help or don't really take help, because it's your main duty to protect yourself, because in that moment when you needed protection, you didn't get it. Or you emotionally did not feel safe in that moment. So you numb your feelings or minimize your feelings so that you won't get that same reaction anymore. Sometimes what we call our quote unquote personality is actually just protection. And I'm going to be vulnerable. I have my own. I feel like I don't like when I talk about my emotions and I don't get a reaction of caring about what I'm talking about, or try to minimize how I'm feeling. It actually grinds my gears, and I actually get very annoyed, and I will probably shut down. And I've noticed that throughout my years of living in my adulthood, even my teenage years, I didn't really talk about stuff because and not just to my mother or anything, but it was just, I didn't have no support, even friendships. I didn't have that support I needed during my teen years to really just talk about how I really felt. Because multiple occasions when I would voice how I felt or something made me feel, it was minimized. So yeah, I don't really talk about my feelings because of that. And as time went on, I feel like it made me struggle in some parts of my relationship. My college boyfriend had to show me it's okay to talk about your feelings, because I was not talking about that. I thought it wasn't needed. But yeah, in that aspect, I definitely did numb myself when it came, or minimize my feelings, because I didn't feel heard. So it's a thing. I think I am prideful a little bit. I don't suffer from hyper independence. I've been working on it, but I definitely was a person I can do it myself, because I noticed my dad died when I was young. I was 8 years old. And before that, my mother had to take care of my father. And when he got really sick, she had to take care of my father and also take care of me. And I never lacked for nothing, but we didn't have, all the gold and riches in the world. So we made it by on like the checks we were getting from my dad being a vet, and I believe he was getting disability. I'm not really sure because I was so young, but my mother didn't work because she had to take care of my dad, and then she would also be take care of me, trying to get me from school, and then she volunteered a lot at my schools. So she was very active in my life and in my school life, and everybody knew my mother and loved my mama. Like, she was a second mom to a lot of people. Touched a lot of lives while she was here. But after he passed, it was kind of like things got a little shaky for us. And when my mom did ask for help, I kind of noticed that how people would try to kind of treat her. And I think that made me not want to ask for help, because it would make me upset. Because, if she's asking for it, it's because she actually needs it. So I think that's kind of too where my me not wanting to ask for nobody to do nothing for me, because you're not going to turn around and say, oh, I didn't do X, Y, and Z, or I asked you for anything, because that's not going to happen. And I know that I'm a good person at heart, and if I do borrow something, I'm going to give it back. I don't ever come with ill intention. So, but you're never going to have that on me to where you can come back and be like, you did X, Y, and Z for me, and throw nothing in my face. So I think that's kind of where my defense mechanisms come in. So I can't say those were, but I've been working on it. I've been asking more for help, like, especially now, because to be honest, it is just me. It's just me and my dog. Like, my mom was my last parent. I visit my mom's sister a lot. Me and her are really, really close. But on the real, she helps me when she can, and that's still my support system. But again, we've been through the same thing, and she lost her mother 6 months after she lost her sister, and then 6 months after that, she lost her best friend that had been in our life for 40 years. So she's also trying to grieve and go through her process. So it's like we kind of deal with the same thing. So much you can put on somebody, but we do give each other that escape, and we hang out a lot. I was always close with my aunt, because she's also my godmother. But in a sense, though, it's just me, in everyday life, it's just me. So I have to ask for help every now and then. It doesn't have to be financial help, but just help in life, because I'm still figuring life out. So I have been working on it. Over the years, I'm better. I ask for help if I need it. Sometimes I find myself going to that place where I'm like, I don't ask for help, but I try to like push myself. And then sometimes God just kind of put me in a position where people already know, and I need help and I don't have to ask. So I am grateful for God's grace every day, but I am trying to like revert those old habits because of the things I experienced when I was a child. So as you see, it's not going to happen overnight. It's something that's going to take practice. And it's normal to want to protect yourself because you don't want to feel what you felt then. And I'm that type of person for real. Like, you're not going to make me feel bad. I love myself too much. I care about myself too much to where that I refuse to allow to put myself in a situation where you're going to continue to hurt me. So I will not stay a place too long where I feel as though I don't need to be because it's not making me happy. I have been victim to doing that because caring about people, but definitely have learned I'm only bumped my head once, and that's all. That's all you're going to get from me. But yes, that was just me being a little vulnerable there. But after you have been able to make those connections on what you didn't get and what has resulted or what was the consequences of that, you can now normalize this grief. The grief has started because you're finally aware of what took place. Sometimes when you start But when you start feeling this way, you start feeling like sadness for things you haven't missed because you're growing. This is a sign of growth. You're growing and evolving, and you're finally uncovering that was there. That happened. You're able to see that wasn't normal, and this isn't normal, and you're trying to change. And I know it can be hard when you acknowledge that or recognize that. It kind of makes you sad, and you kind of turn to self-blame, or I'm stupid, or I should have not did that, I should not stayed there, I should not stay too long, I let this person do X, Y, and Z for me. To me, it's okay. You need to show yourself some grace. You are not the first one to make mistakes, and probably made mistakes after mistake after mistake. Yes, yes, people make mistakes, and sometimes they have to bump their head so many times on that wall until they finally have had enough and finally can experience that growth or that evolution of becoming someone different and better, to where you're like, okay, I did that, done that. I will not let that happen again. I will not put myself in a situation and allow myself to be treated that way. So the important thing is, yeah, you may have bumped your head. You may have to bump your head 7, 8 times, maybe 20. But the thing is, you now realize that can no longer happen anymore. You finally have learned your lesson. You're able to have the grace of being able to learn your lesson. A lot of people probably have been through doing the same thing you have been done, but unfortunately, God didn't give them the grace to be able to have the chance to learn their lesson. But you did. That makes you special right there already. So show yourself some grace. You've came this far. You have realized that can no longer happen again. Being honest with yourself first allows you to unlearn those survival skills your brain and body has told you that were normal. Going back again, if someone is not honest with themselves or how they feel, you cannot trust them. They will never be honest with you. And that's something you just notice things after you stop talking to people, and it's like you can't even be honest with yourself. You're gonna lie to yourself. Yourself. It's just you, and you're gonna lie to yourself and try to play mind tricks on yourself, knowing that's not how you feel. Crazy work. But after we have been able to normalize the fact that, yeah, we did this, but I learned my lesson, and that's the good thing about it. Once you have able to settle that in your spirit, to let yourself know that it's okay, to show yourself some grace, and been there, done that, you can now explore these wounds. I think what makes it harder for people to go to therapy or really just talk about the things that those battle scars or those wounds is because they haven't really yet normalized the fact that it was okay to give themselves that grace, or without blaming themselves. Of course, anything that requires change or reshaping, it's going to hurt. You just have to stick through that pain if you really want to be better. But if you have already, normalized your grief, you made the connections. The good thing is you have me, because I'm telling you how to actually do this gently. So that way, when you are faced with these pains or you are exploring these wounds, you ain't trying to run and hide in the corner and thinking that you can continue to run away from these wounds. I'm telling you, they're going to come back in different ways. And I just feel as though you cut yourself short when you run away from facing what really you need to be facing. You sell yourself short, because it's probably things out there, opportunities, people you haven't met, love you never experienced before, probably will never be able to experience because you were not able to woman up or man up to face these wounds, so that you can be better for you, so that you can get everything that you deserve. Yes, that puzzle is missing a piece, and yes, it's been lost for years. But that doesn't mean that you can't create a new piece to put there to still feel fulfilled. It's just a choice. It's just a choice. But back to our step. Once we're able to explore these wounds, you can now tune into your deep, deep wounds, those inner child wounds. What do those look like? Was it I wasn't enough? Maybe I was too much. Maybe your physical needs were being met, but your emotional needs were not being met. And your guardian or parent kept saying, well, hey, I am putting clothes on your back, feeding you. You have a roof over your head. Others don't have this. Why are you complaining about me not listening to you or making it seem like your feelings are not as valid because your physical needs being met? Did you happen to learn to shrink yourself because your emotions felt like a burden on someone else? Like every time you brought up your feelings, they're like, "Oh my gosh, why you keep bringing this up? Why you keep complaining?" Did you feel like you had to overachieve to prove that you were worthy, or did you not have you had an absent parent or parents, and you feel like that caused you to blame yourself because they weren't in your life? Now, as you think about these things, again, we are doing this without blame. We're just trying to uncover what was done, so that way we can make the connections. That way we can grieve that and get through it. Once you have explored those wounds a little deeper, if it goes back into your inner child or it goes back to your childhood, you can now learn to reparent that child or that version of yourself gently. This will help you to release those own wounds. It will help you to become safe, consistent, compassionate. If you're able to be that safety and be that compassionate adult to your younger self that you needed, repetitively, daily, quietly, it helps reshape your present, your now, and your future. So I want you to picture yourself, whatever age you were as a child and you felt like those needs were not getting met. You could have been 7, 10, 12, 13, 14. Heck, you could even been 17. Whatever it was in your childhood, I want you to picture that version of you. What did that version of you need the most? Was it comfort? Was it someone to listen? Was it to someone to say it's not your fault? Or someone to love you as you were? Focus on being aware of those feelings, but not trying to fix it. Just being aware of it. Notice what triggers you then and now. Validate those feelings and offer yourself that reassurance that that version of you needed. Once you do that, you can now set boundaries like a protective parent for that child. Whether that looks like leaving combos or conversations that feel disrespectful. You no longer stay in that place because you don't like that. This doesn't mean that you have to shame your old coping mechanisms or being like, why am I like this? This protected me once. I don't need it the same way I did before. That's why you were like that. And it's okay. I had to do what I had to do that was necessary for me to be able to survive where I was at. And it don't even have to be just like within your childhood or just things you go through. You could be grieving like long-term relationships, I feel like grieving where you should be. And I can personally experience that by now. Or like when I had first got out of my relationship, honestly, it needed to end. And that's I was more happier alone than in that relationship. It just took a while to figure it out. And life was a mess before because I had my own personal issues that I was going through. But when it ended, I was like, oh, I should have been done this. Like as soon as it ended, or as soon as I realized or found out what I found out, I was just like, pros and cons. The cons outweighed the pros. And I was like, okay, well, I should have been did this. However, I kind of grieved the fact that I was supposed to be married already. I was supposed to be starting my family or walking down the aisle, I could have been married and my mother would have been able to see that or see me have my kids. And I'm just like, now I'm left here having to start all over. And I feel like my biggest thing that I would grieve or regret was being in relationships my 20s. Like, yes, it's okay to experience love, but if you are, listen to me, children, listen to me, daughter. If you are in your early 20s, do not give it all to being in a relationship. There is so much more to this world than to be in love and making kids. Beautiful. It's beautiful. Beautiful thing. Beautiful having kids. But if you could wait until you have experienced life, and I'm not talking about experienced people sexually, dating, doing all that, which is cool, but experiencing life, really getting some grit, some getting some tools under your belt, some knowledge, some things that you can take into when you actually supposed to date people, what to allow when it comes to your partner or how they should treat you. It's different life experiences that you need to experience before actually getting in a relationship. I would have definitely not been in relationships. Like, not as long as I was. I would have left things earlier when they no longer suited me. And I knew I always been perfect as far as a partner. Like, A1. I'm definitely a woman that I know that some man has been in his word and he been praying for a woman like me. So I know I'm the answers to some man's prayers. Well, let's say not some man, but the right man's prayers. So, and no matter how my relationships have ended, anybody who has dated me knows that for a fact. You know, I don't ever leave no ill will, and nobody takes the name of nobody's mouth, and they definitely can say that about me, no matter how it ended. Anybody that fell short, it's because they're on, crashing out their own because they feel like they're undeserving. But that has nothing to do with me. Anyways, so yeah, but I would have definitely experienced life a little more than to trying to show that I can be a wife, because it's not that. It's the fact that, are you deserving of me? I know I'm deserving because I know what I bring to the table, but are you the man that's deserving of me? And I should have left a lot of situations beforehand. Not because they were doing me wrong, just you in the way of my husband. And I got a lot of life to live. So if you are young, please don't give all your 20s to relationships. It's not worth the headache. It's just not. It's not. Experience life for yourself for a while, Of course you want to settle down. Of course you want to have kids and you want to do all that, which is fine and dandy. It's a beautiful thing. But that would probably be one thing that I would tell my daughter. Not even probably, for sure would tell my daughter and my son. Do not give your whole 20s to no woman or no young man. Like, it's not worth it. Have your fun. So, me being 28 I don't think I really worry about it too much now, but when I first got out of my 4-year relationship, I was like, no, I'm supposed to be a wife. I was supposed to be a wife by now. So, but I was just like, this is okay, because I was also grieving and I didn't have it in me to be emotionally available for nobody, nothing to give. So I was not going to be a good partner, and it would have ended anyways, if I'm being honest, because I just emotionally was not available moving forward. I don't care about what you're going through because I have a lot on my plate right now. Like, my mind could not think because I was stuck in survival mode. I didn't get out of survival mode or realize like I was coming down from a super survival mode high until I started getting really depressed in like July. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? But my brain was finally like, oh my gosh, the threat is gone. And mind you, all of this stuff started happening in November 2023. And my brain had finally told me in 2025 in July, Like, we're not happy. We can't go this way. Like, it's too much going on. So I knew that this is not it. But anyways, that's also a type of grief, that you have to get through. Not getting that love that you know you deserve, or that fairy tale that you know you deserve by the time you think you deserve it. But I mean, I have things for where I'm at now. Like, things happen, and maybe it's a time for me to be able to enjoy my 20s, and that's what I have been doing. I've been having a ball. That's all I'm gonna say. I've been having a great time doing new things, new experiencing, getting new friends, just experiencing life for me, enjoying the rest of my 20s. When God decides that the man that is ordained for me it's time for him to come, he will come. But I am enjoying being single and should have done this a long time ago. That's all I can say. But I went to say all that to say, like, it is possible to grieve what you should have had, and it's normal. Like, grieving relationships, you should have been married by now, grieving career that you should have had and you feel like you're not there yet. But it's okay. With time, those things come. I feel like if you keep working on yourself and keep figuring out who you are and being genuinely happy in the place you are in or where God has you, and learning to be okay within that moment, eventually those things will come, They will come. I still believe my husband out there. I know he is. And I know he is nothing like what I had. Anyways, y'all get the gist. But yes. But I just wanted to touch bases on that. It's just not about, things that may have happened in your childhood. You probably had a good childhood. It could be things that just happen in your life now. I know a lot of people are ending long-term relationships, and it's definitely a new chapter, starting over. They say don't say start over. But heck, when you invest years into somebody and then they do buffoonery things, and you like, who's this person? And now you have to, but ain't nothing wrong with starting over. Start over again. Heck, I start over so many times, I really don't care. As long as I do it right, I get it right, that's okay with me. It can be frustrating, but I'd rather say I have done it right than to end up with somebody broken son. Just not trying to do those things. But once you have did your gentle reparenting process, you can now allow yourself to grieve. You can name the loss, let the emotions exist without fixing, release the guilt around grieving, understand grief moves in waves. You can finally just let the process roll. And just to reiterate back to another scenario, as far as like grieving a relationship, grieving long-term relationship, grieving not being where you wanted to be financially or in your love life. You can name the loss, let that exist. I know some people try to blame themselves or what happened, and it may not be your fault unless you were just downright not a good partner. You cheated, or you lied, or you just was dishonest with yourself and with your partner. But if you truly didn't cause the end of that relationship and it ended crazy or nasty and you were a good person, it's not your fault. Some people just fall short. Some people just are never going to be good enough to be with you. And I just say take that as a blessing in disguise. It may not feel like it in the moment. It'd be so many emotions, but it's important to not let that guilt fall on you. I can honestly say, right hand to the man, I made sure I knew to myself I was not the reason that person did whatever that person did. They fell short. They were undeserving. Like I said, some man is out there in his Bible praying for a woman like me. So I knew what I brought to the table. So it was never about me. That person probably realized, hey, I'm just going to self-sabotage because of whatever I got going on in my head, because I know I'm not deserving, which is okay. Just move out the way of my husband. That's totally fine. You just missed out on your blessing. And heck, All you was going to do is cause me problems. So I think that it's a blessing in disguise. So once you make sure that you do not blame yourself for nothing that anyone has done, release that guilt around that grieving process, because you are not the problem. There is nothing wrong with you. Some people just fall short, and that's just life. Unfortunately, we see certain things in people, and we think that because we are such these good people, and these people should have gratitude or show gratitude for even experiencing people like us. But you can't teach someone how to treat this special gem if they've never experienced that type of love or had that type of person in their life. They are going to fumble it if they're not willing to work on themselves and figure out what's going on with them and do the work themselves. Of course, they're going to mishandle you. So, like I said, it's a blessing in disguise. You don't have to go through all the heartache and the pain and let somebody else, let him go play it safe, or let her go play it safe with whoever they want to be with. And just focus on you. Focus on releasing the guilt, understanding that your grief may move in ways you might have to yourself, pulling yourself back to want to get into the guilty or shaming yourself. But it's important for us to just say, look, I released this guilt. I released this shame. I feel how I feel. That did hurt me. X, Y, and Z hurt me as far as that loss. I do wish I was further. However, this is where we're at, and we're going to embrace our journey where we're at and where God has placed me right now in order for me to be able to move forward. Okay? So, it's okay to grieve. It's okay. You are not weak for grieving. Your pain does make sense. So, lock that in your head. Healing does take time, and it does happen in layers. You just have to keep choosing your healing every day. You have to be determined. You have to have consistency. You are allowed to mourn what never came and still believe something good can meet you here. And you never know, the unexpected. You could be healing and working on yourself, and God just might bless whatever blessing you're looking for, or that puzzle piece that you've been searching for years, and drop it right at your doorstep. If you just keep choosing you, choosing your healing, choosing consistency, and to pour into yourself and to change every day. Okay? I do want to give you guys a journal prompt that I want you to reflect on. This might help you a little bit more, do a little bit more digging into trying to make those connections. So the journal prompt for this week is, what did I need that I still deserve now? And what future am I ready to release or reimagine? Okay, let's go ahead and turn the page. Let's go ahead and provide ourselves with what we need. Let's create that puzzle piece to replace what was missing. Okay, so before we close, we will end this episode with this year's season's mantra. So first, because I know this was a lot for this episode, I just want you to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Let all that heaviness, all that weight, that pressure you feel, let it out. One more time. Breathe in and breathe out. And I want you to repeat after me. I honor what ended. I protect what's healing. I reclaim what's mine. Repeat it. Sit with it. Let it be the reminder that this year is yours fully. Next episode, we'll talk about when healing feels heavy, not helpful. We will be addressing emotional burnout in this healing process. Emotional burnout. I am ready for that episode. We're going to validate it, and we're also going to learn how to keep going without forcing yourself. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications on my YouTube page at I Am Enough Pod, so you'll never miss an episode. If this message resonated with you, please share it with someone who may need to hear it. You can also follow me on Instagram at iam.enoughmsl. And if you're locked in this season, feel free to share a photo of you journaling, your reflections, or with this season's mantra on Instagram. Thank you again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.